Hello, everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to ask you something that may unsettle you. Why is it that women who have endless options still find themselves drawn toward men who are older, sometimes far older than them? It isn't about money the way most assume, and it isn't even about looks the way you've been told. It's something far deeper, something invisible yet undeniable: confidence. A confidence that younger men often try to fake, but older men embody like second nature. And this truth, if you let it sink in, will change the way you see yourself forever. Because women don't admire age. They admire what age has carved into a man's soul. Think about it. A younger man often carries insecurity, like a shadow. He wonders if he is enough, if he is desirable, if he has to prove himself at every turn. But an older man has lived through storms that would break most people. He's been rejected, betrayed, tested, and he's survived. That survival leaves a mark. It isn't arrogance, it's calm presence. And women sense it the way you sense the shift in air before a storm. Subconscious, primal, magnetic. That's why they look at an older man and see not wrinkles, but weight, not age, but authority. You see, when an older man walks into a room, he doesn't need to dominate it. He doesn't rush to speak the loudest or impress with stories. His silence carries more weight than another man's desperate words. His eye contact lingers just a little longer, not out of force, but out of knowing who he is. That is the kind of confidence women admire, the kind that cannot be faked, because it was purchased with years of pain, failure, and rising again. And here's the brutal truth. Many younger men destroy their chances with women because they chase external tricks instead of building internal certainty. They memorize pickup lines. They flex status symbols. They try to mask insecurity with bravado. But women are bloodhounds for authenticity. They smell the difference instantly. A man who knows who he is doesn't chase validation, he creates it. That is why an older man's confidence feels like gravity. Women admire it because it makes them feel safe, excited, and deeply seen all at once. Now let me ask you, have you ever wondered what women see in you beyond your looks or success? Answer me in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear this. There's something most men never realize until it's too late. Women aren't admiring older men because of the number of candles on their birthday cake, but because of the unshakable certainty those years have built inside them. A younger man often approaches life with frantic energy. He feels he must prove his worth, chase attention, fight for approval. And while he burns himself out in the process, an older man doesn't. Why? Because he's already fought those battles, and he's already buried the desperate need to be chosen. Instead, he carries himself like someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to hide. And that energy, my friend, is intoxicating. Women admire confidence that feels lived in, not rehearsed. Think about how different it feels when a man speaks with the voice of experience rather than the echo of insecurity. A younger guy might nervously fill every silence, try to overcompensate, or back down when challenged. An older man? He lets the silence do the talking. His pauses are powerful, his words scarce but deliberate. And this tells a woman something no flashy display could ever convey. This man knows who he is. That message runs deeper than charm, deeper than looks, deeper even than status. It speaks directly to her instincts, and she cannot ignore it. The secret is that women aren't consciously calculating any of this. She doesn't sit across from an older man and say, "Oh, I admire his confidence because he's lived through hardships." No, she simply feels it. She feels safer, more curious, more feminine in his presence. His groundedness gives her permission to let go of her own mask. His steadiness makes her trust him in ways she never could with someone who's still wrestling with himself. That is why women admire the confidence of older men. It is real, unshakable, and rooted in something younger men haven't yet earned. But here's the part no one wants to tell you. This confidence isn't a gift of age alone. It's a choice, forged through the way you face your struggles, how you learn from pain, and whether you rise or stay broken. Which means you don't have to wait for decades to pass before you tap into this energy. You can start cultivating it now, today, by stripping away the need to impress and replacing it with the power of presence. That is how you shift from chasing admiration to commanding it. So let me ask you, do you think your presence today makes women feel safe and steady, or restless and unsure? Leave me your answer in the comments, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a man who needs to wake up to this truth. Here's a truth most men are too afraid to face. Women don't fall for older men because of superficial things. They fall because of how those men make them feel about themselves. When a woman stands in front of a man who radiates calm, steady confidence, her guard begins to lower. She no longer feels like she has to test him, manipulate him, or pull him into games. Why? Because his presence already tells her he won't be shaken. That certainty allows her to relax into her femininity. She doesn't have to lead, she doesn't have to control, she can just be. That is the emotional space older men naturally create, and that is what women crave. Think about it. Younger men, desperate to prove themselves, often end up creating anxiety instead of attraction. They text too much, they chase too hard, they overthink every detail, and in doing so, they reveal just how fragile their confidence truly is. But older men don't play that game. They know what's worth their time and what isn't. They know that attention is a gift, not something to be begged for. And when a woman feels this difference, she admires it, because it makes her respect him on a level that cannot be faked. This is why a confident older man can simply sit across the table, lean back, hold steady eye contact, and without a single word, create a pull that no flashy line could ever achieve. His silence doesn't scare her. It draws her in. His patience doesn't bore her. It intrigues her. She starts wondering, what is it about him that makes me feel so different? And that mystery keeps her coming back. Women admire confidence when it feels unbothered, untouchable, and earned. And that's what older men embody almost effortlessly. But let's be clear. Women aren't admiring his age. They are admiring what that age represents. Discipline, experience, perspective. A man who has weathered storms and no longer seeks approval in every glance or validation in every compliment. This kind of confidence liberates a woman from her own insecurities because she feels anchored to something unmovable. And when she admires that, she doesn't just see him as attractive, she sees him as rare. So I'll ask you directly, do you give off the kind of energy that makes women relax into your presence? Or do you leave them feeling like they need to lead the dance? Drop your honest answer in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who's struggling to understand this side of women. Here's the raw reality. Women admire older men because they embody something younger men often run from: emotional stability. Every woman, no matter how independent she claims to be, is subconsciously looking for a man who can anchor her storm, not add to it. When she meets a man who doesn't get triggered easily, who doesn't lash out when tested, who doesn't collapse under pressure, she admires him. She sees him as solid, and solid men are rare in a world full of boys trying to fake maturity. Younger men often confuse confidence with arrogance. They puff up their chest, talk louder, try to dominate every space they enter. But what they don't realize is that this energy doesn't feel like strength. It feels like insecurity in disguise. A woman can sense when a man is performing rather than embodying. She can tell when he's trying to win her attention instead of living as though he doesn't need it. And that difference is what separates the admired from the overlooked. An older man's confidence doesn't come from the surface. It comes from scars. He's faced rejection and learned it doesn't kill him. He's lost people he thought he couldn't live without and discovered he still breathes. He's been broken and rebuilt himself. That history gives him something no younger man can manufacture: depth. And when a woman looks into his eyes, she sees not a boy pretending, but a man who has lived. That's what she admires. Not his money, not his status, not even his body, but the depth that only time and struggle can give. And here's the secret you need to hear. You don't have to wait until you're 50 to carry this energy. Confidence is born the moment you stop fearing loss, stop needing validation, and start living like your worth is non-negotiable. The more you ground yourself in your own value, the more women will feel that same invisible force older men project. That force is what makes them lean in, what makes them curious, what makes them respect you before you even say a word. So here's my question to you. When was the last time you stayed calm in the face of a test instead of reacting out of insecurity? Think about it and share in the comments. And remember, like this video, subscribe for more, and send it to a man who needs to step into his strength. Women admire older men for one more reason that younger men almost never understand: patience. Not the kind of patience that waits silently, but the patience that comes from knowing he doesn't need to rush anything. A younger man often moves fast, trying to secure attention, affection, or commitment before it slips away. That rushing energy screams of insecurity. It tells her he fears loss more than he values himself. An older man, however, carries a different rhythm. He understands that attraction, trust, and desire all unfold naturally when there is no pressure. That's why women admire his confidence. It feels like freedom, not desperation. Patience communicates power. When a man doesn't chase, doesn't demand, doesn't panic, a woman starts to lean in. She begins to invest more, not because he tricked her, but because his calmness signals that he's not afraid to walk away. That is magnetic. Women don't admire men who cling. They admire men who stand firm. And patience is the purest expression of that strength. Consider how this plays out in conversations. A younger guy might rush to fill every silence, tripping over words to keep her entertained. But an older man is comfortable with silence. He sips his drink, holds her gaze, and lets her wonder what's on his mind. That stillness drives her curiosity wild. It's not manipulation, it's presence. A presence that says, "I don't need to impress you. You'll see who I am when you're ready." That confidence creates a tension that women can't help but admire. And the deeper truth? Patience shows discipline. A man who is patient with women is usually patient with life. He's not easily distracted. He's not constantly chasing the next shiny thing. He invests in what matters. He waits for the right opportunities, and he knows when to act decisively. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is admired. Here's what you need to take away. Women admire older men because their confidence is slow, deliberate, and unshakable. It doesn't explode outward, it draws inward. And once you understand this, you'll stop wasting energy proving yourself and start building the kind of presence that commands respect naturally. So let me ask you, are you rushing through life and relationships, or are you cultivating the patience that makes women admire you effortlessly? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with the men who need this truth. At the core of it all, women admire older men because they represent something timeless: certainty. Not certainty about the future, not certainty about other people, but certainty about themselves. When a man knows who he is, he becomes impossible to ignore. He doesn't bend with every opinion. He doesn't crumble when faced with rejection. And he doesn't trade his authenticity for approval. That is what women admire most: the man who stands unshaken in a world that tries to shake everyone. Younger men often misunderstand this and believe they need to gain years before they can have it. But the truth is, confidence isn't a matter of time, it's a matter of choice. Every challenge life throws at you is an opportunity to harden your foundation or let it crack. Older men have simply lived through more storms, so their confidence has had more chances to be forged. That's why women admire them. They carry the proof that no matter what happens, they won't lose themselves. But here's the part you must remember. Admiration doesn't come from pretending to be older, wealthier, or tougher. It comes from becoming grounded in your own worth. When you stop competing for attention, women will compete for yours. When you stop over-explaining, women will lean in to understand you. When you stop chasing, women will admire the gravity you naturally carry. That's the power of the kind of confidence older men embody, and it's available to you the moment you stop needing permission to be yourself. So, if you truly want women to admire you the way they admire older men, stop focusing on external shortcuts and start building inner strength. Cultivate calmness, patience, discipline, and self-respect. These are the qualities that make a man unforgettable. These are the traits that turn admiration into desire. And these are the truths most men will never hear, because they're too busy chasing approval instead of becoming a man who doesn't need it. Now let me leave you with this. Do you believe women admire you for who you are, or are you still trying to convince them? Answer honestly in the comments below. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend who needs to understand why confidence, not age, is the real secret women can't resist.